Madam Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Especially heartfelt thank you to all the providers who are out there doing the work every day to support those who are unhoused and most vulnerable in our community. A statement that often gets made is that on any given night, Cambridge has approximately 500 people on our streets or in our shelters. And when that statement gets made, what I've noticed is that what people focus on is the 500 in that sentence. They don't focus as much on the word people in that sentence. And that's what really drove this project. The folks that, I'd like to welcome Vice Mayor Mallon, who's joined us too. You know, the folks that we walk by every day out in front of 7-Eleven or in the pit or Carl Barron Plaza are all people just like us, except they don't have a roof over their head. You know, people have heard me say this before, I always do this little exercise where I say, raise your hand if you've ever asked a 10-year-old what they want to be when they grow up, and every hand should go up. And now, raise your hand if any of those 10-year-olds ever said homeless. Every person you see on these posters and every person you walk by in our community who is unhoused was a 10-year-old kid once. And they wanted something very different for their life, and they didn't envision you know, being on the street and struggling to survive. And so I got the idea to do this project to really try and bring their stories to those of us who have the privilege of being housed. So that maybe the next time we're walking past Renee or Jody, we see past the physical appearance, right? We see past the disheveledness. We see past, at times, behaviors that, you know, we find troubling. And remember that all these folks had hopes and dreams, still have hopes and dreams. They have favorite books, they have favorite sports teams. I left out that one of these folks is a Yankee fan because I didn't want to publicize that. You know, just like everybody else. And so that's what really drove this. And so you know, I really want to thank, and she's going to come up and say a few words in a minute, but Eva Tyne, who's a fellow social worker, who took the pictures, which are remarkable, and helped do the interviews. I really want to thank her for her partnership and work in this. I want to thank Pamela, my council aide, Molly from the Public Relations Office, who designed the posters. But most of all, I want to thank the unhoused folks who trusted us enough to share their stories. It is not easy to trust people when you're unhoused, particularly people in government, right? And these folks all welcomed us in and said, yes, I will share my story with you. And that was incredibly powerful and moving, I think, for us. And I just can't appreciate them enough. They were all invited to be here today. I was hoping some of them would come and speak, but again, it just sort of highlights that they're out there trying to find a place to stay warm and trying to cobble some money together to get something to eat and don't have the luxury of coming to City Hall for a public event at 11:30. So I hope that you will read these little biographies. They're going to be hanging in City Hall for a week or two, and then we're going to put them in the main library, and our goal is to kind of move them around a little bit so that people in other parts of the city who can't be here today can see them and read them. And ultimately the hope is that, one of the things that every person said when we asked them, how would you like people to sort of respond to you or treat you? And every single one of them said, we just want to be noticed. Right? We're part of the community. We want somebody, if you can't give us $1, just say, sorry, I can't do it right now. Don't just walk past me as if I'm not even there. Say hello. We're not all dangerous or drug addicts or mentally ill. This can happen to anybody. And so hopefully, this will help bring the community a little bit closer together as we struggle with how do we solve this incredibly huge problem that plagues every city, in the country.